from Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Eric Atkinson here. Here's what's ahead from the Livestock Marketing Information Center. Katelyn McCullock on the cattle markets. She'll offer her preview of the USDA's cattle inventory report due out this Friday. Also, K-State's Rich Llewlyn has the details on the 2021 K-State Risk and Profit Conference set for mid-August here on the campus. He'll go over the numerous contemporary topics that'll be covered there. Further ahead, K-State's Lexie Hayes talks with Shelby Varner about the Kansas 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes coming up in August. And on this week's 4-H segment, K-State's Aliah Mestrovich Seay visits with Jeff Wickman about bolstering the 4-H staff here at K-State. All that right here on Agriculture Today. Welcome. This is the Monday edition of Agriculture Today. Glad to have you along for a look, first of all, at the cattle markets and comments from the director of the Livestock Marketing Information Center. She's based in Denver, Katelyn McCullock. Eventually, Katelyn, we will pick up on the numbers expected out of the USDA later this week, not only in the form of the USDA's Cattle on Feed report monthly, but the semi-annual cattle inventory report due out as well, but later on that. Last week in the cattle markets, what's your take?
Well, in the live cattle side, in the 5-area daily, we had some fairly big price swings. We started out the week pretty strong last week at, in the 124 range and then dove to 121 on the 14th, which is kind of interesting, and before popping back up. And so that cash trade number is watching what the futures market is doing as well. And on Friday, that futures price was slightly below where that cash number was. So something to watch as we move through July and into that delivery month of August. On the feeder cattle side, prices on the 7 to 8 jumped up $5 a hundredweight in Dodge City for the week, coming in at 150.11. But they receded a little bit on the 5 to 600 pound weights down to 161 from 165 the previous week. So some interesting moves there. I think the market's still looking at corn and not quite sure necessarily where that's going to come out. We're going to start to get objective yields here in a couple months, and hopefully that'll paint a more concrete picture for what those feeder cattle prices will be this fall, as well as what the cattle feeding returns might look like early part of next year.
The trading action this past week, was it taking any signals in particular from the boxed beef trade, which seemed to have edged a bit lower again?
So boxed beef continues to decline, and that's a rather normal seasonal occurrence once we get past 4th of July. And we lost about $10 a hundredweight last week from the week before. Not necessarily abnormal. I've actually been somewhat surprised boxed beef hasn't fallen faster. I'd be looking for boxed beef to fall on the choice side, probably closer to that 250 a hundredweight range, maybe even a little bit below there. But if it holds on a little bit better, maybe you see more support for cattle prices. Our cattle forecasts for the third quarter are still below where the futures market is, not a lot below, but anything above 120 looks a little high to me unless you see that boxed beef really hold on through the next 4 to 6 weeks. So that's one of the things we're watching. And as of Friday, we were still at 267.94 on the choice side. So still quite a ways to go before we hit what I would think is reasonable for this decline. And keep in mind, too, those live cattle prices seasonally, we'd expect a normal seasonal pattern to be is that low to be in that August-September timeframe. And so far this year, the seasonal pattern has maintained a relatively flat value from about the second quarter on. And so if it continues to be flat, that would be a little bit different than what normal seasonal patterns would look like. But if it does decline, that is what we would normally expect to see in cattle pricing throughout the year.
You do note, though, that the byproduct market from the cattle industry, the values for those byproducts continue to climb. What's happening there?
So USDA AMS comes up with a byproduct value based on different organ meats and variety meats, as well as hide values, and assigns a weight to it per 100 pounds to come up with that value. And that is approaching $13 a hundredweight, which is the highest value it's seen since about 2015. And one of the biggest drivers has been the hide value. We're looking at a hide value that is well above where it was in 2019. That too is probably closer to what that 2015 level is. And what's interesting to that is that it's not considered a food product, right? So it's not influenced by the same things that maybe variety meats or other beef cuts are looking at. And we've been talking for a long time about the decline in the leather industry, this seemingly lack of preference towards leather, both globally and in the US. We've seen cars move away from that to some extent, and sneakers. We're wondering now if there's a resurgence in interest. Have consumer preferences actually changed? Or is it because everyone went out and bought a new car in 2021 and late 2020? We've seen U.S. car sales be really strong. Is that part of this? Is it more of a manufacturing issue? Because it is surprising, if you look at the history, hide exports really have not done well since about those high values in 2014. And it really seemed like that industry was not going to come back. Now, if we look at cumulative year-to-date exports, whole hides are up about 62%. That's January to May data over 2020. But if we compare that to May of 2019, it's about 50%. So still very strong numbers we're looking at on those whole hide values. If we look at variety meats, those exports are up about 6% cumulative year-to-date over 2020. But compared to 2019, we're down about 4%. So in a lot of cases, the variety meats and the hides are above 2020 values. And on the variety meat side, it's probably closer to 2019 values. They're probably a little more price sensitive. We may be seeing a little substitution in other countries that are switching from more expensive beef cuts to maybe less expensive animal products, which variety meats normally would qualify for that. And so the big question is, does that demand stay with us? Do we see this increased demand for variety meats and hides moving through the year? And those things can move in different directions because you're talking about a food channel versus a manufacturing channel. But right now, both prices are up, both export quantities are up, and it's really supporting live cattle prices. And that's something that the hide is a bigger proportion of the live cattle value than the biggest proportion of that byproduct value. And so when it's doing well, it's really supportive of those live cattle prices. When it's not, it can kind of take away from them. And right now we're in a more supportive phase, if you will.
Well, it is an unsung facet of the markets, worthy of attention every once in a while. Again, the byproduct sector. Katelyn, the USDA will trot out some new numbers that the market will take full interest in, one would think, later on this week. Once more, the cattle on feed report for this month, for sure. But that cattle inventory report, it's always eagerly awaited. Is there anything earth-shattering expected out of those numbers?
So the big one we're watching is what beef count numbers are doing. And we've heard a lot about the Western U.S. really struggling and doing quite a bit of liquidation, depending on where they are in that area. We're at a point where hay has gotten very expensive in the Pacific Northwest. They're talking about limiting irrigation in some areas. And so if the pasture is not able to sustain those breeding herds, then a lot of times you are going to force them into slaughter channels. And I think June was might have been a little early. That I don't know how much of the culling has happened versus what will happen. But a lot of producers are in a dire situation right now where it's not affordable to feed the animals and are looking at making some tough decisions in the Western U.S. We're down right now about 1 to 1.5% on that beef count number nationally, but almost all of it's being driven by the increased slaughter that's happening in a lot of the country. When we talk about what does that mean, you would expect the calf crop to then also decline. But the other factor in here is that dairy cow numbers are up, and they're going to be close to 9.5 million head, which is a fairly large dairy herd number. Over the last 5 years or so, we've been closer to 9.3 or 9.4, so a little bit higher on that side of things. And when we're expecting the cattle on feed number on July 1 to be slightly lower than it was last year. And so that all plays into this. But overall, the all cattle and cows number, we're expecting to be down 0.5% or so, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But the biggest thing, I think, is how much of that beef cow herd liquidation is taking place earlier. We've seen really large slaughter numbers. How much of that is turnover versus actual liquidation? But we would expect probably more liquidation in the second half of this year. But July 1 will be a good starting point of how to think about what that January 1 number is going to look like.
Any way you cut it, though, the trajectory is obviously drought or no toward the downside on the numbers.
I believe that to be true, that we are still in a contractionary cycle and the drought has just changed maybe the steepness of which we're going to liquidate. Before the drought, we were maybe looking at a more stable, slower decline in cattle numbers over the next couple of years. Now it's looking like we're going to have a much sharper liquidation phase here. But what that means is that the folks that can stay in the game and that are able to hang on to breeding stock are looking at probably significantly higher calf prices over the next 2 to 3 years. And so that's something that should happen. We've talked a lot about demand, but essentially you're going to be in an environment where there's less and less cattle supplies moving in the next short, medium term, over the next several years.
We'll see what the indicators look like when the USDA releases that pair of reports on the same day, this coming Friday, the 23rd, cattle on feed report for the month and the semi-annual cattle inventory report coming out then. Thanks for the input and the comments, and we'll look forward to talking with you again in a few weeks, Katelyn.
Thank you.
Katelyn McCullock, the director of the Livestock Marketing Information Center, which once more is a service co-sponsored by numerous land-grant universities, including Kansas State University. And you're listening to Agriculture Today. Agriculture Today continues now here on the K-State Radio Network. Here we are moving into the latter part of July, so something that's a little bit on the traditional side because it's a keynote event every summer. We'll give you the heads up on the K-State Risk and Profit Conference put on by the Agricultural Economics Department every year here at Kansas State University. It's been set up for August the 19th and the 20th here on campus. With the full details, the conference coordinator, Rich Llewlyn, agricultural economist here at K-State. And the notable thing here, Rich, is coming off of 2020 when this event was entirely virtual. This is, in fact, an in-person gathering.
It is, and we're looking forward to it. I think there's some folks that are wanting to come and be in person again, so we're glad we can do that. We'll also have an online component to it the following week, but we'll have the 2 full days, as it has been before pretty much, with breakout sessions as well as keynote speakers. For those who've not attended this event before, remind us of its general orientation and its intent, if you would. Well, it starts on Thursday with lunch, and then we have a keynote speaker who will be Matt Roberts, dealing with long-term grain prices and ethanol effects in the grain markets. And then we have breakout sessions that afternoon, then a conversation with a Kansas farmer in the evening on Thursday. On Friday, it'll be 2 general sessions, 1 in the morning with grain markets, and then 3 breakouts in between. And then after lunch, have a livestock outlook general session. So purpose is for farmers, for bankers, for crop insurance agents, agribusiness managers and folks. We have a lot of different people that come. Extension personnel are there as well. And so just folks to get together, to learn together, to talk to each other as well. And there's time for that in the evening on Thursday afternoon especially. Traditionally, you build this program around a stated theme. What is that this year? It's markets and management. We're looking at grain markets and livestock markets. There's a lot going on in both of those right now, but also just some of the management that's needed. We've got a session on data and analyzing data and using it in ways that you can, get some decision-making out of it and stuff. There's a whole lot of information out there, but how do you handle some of those things? So the management is as important as knowing the stuff. That's a heady question, always is. Indeed. Mining a little deeper here, the keynote speaker, a risk management consultant that you mentioned, what will he be bringing as far as a message? Well, he'll be talking about the grain markets in a longer-term sense. A lot of times our outlook talks look at the next year or so and what's going on. This is looking a little further down the road, trying to discern, what some of the long-term trends might be, with trade and some of those issues, as well as where things might go in the energy market and their effects on the grain markets. So Matt has been in academia, but he's also been involved in the consulting and speaking world for quite a while now, too. And so does his own research, and it'll be some interesting stuff.
He'll set the tone again for the entire conference. He is Matt Roberts, and again, he will be the keynoter. Another feature of this event, and that'll take place the evening of Thursday, the 19th, the conversation with a Kansas farmer. A farm family is identified and featured in a relatively casual conversation about what led to their successes.
And that's happened for about 10 years now. We've had that going on, and we kind of take different parts of the state, different types of operations. And this year, Joe and Dana Newland from down in southeast Kansas will be joining us and talking about their operations, some of the things they've done, and how their kids are involved in the operation too, and involved in agriculture. And so it'll be interesting to see some of the things they've done to grow their operation as well as involve the next generation.
And this allows attendees at the conference to visit with, in this case, Joe and Dana about their operations, ask questions. It's very free-flowing. So that'll be the conversation with a Kansas farmer. Joe and Dana Newland, Neodesha, will be on the stage for that. You mentioned also that there'll be the traditional overviews of the grain and livestock markets, and the K-State's own will cover that.
They will. Dan O'Brien is our grain marketing specialist, and so on Friday morning he'll take on more of the short-term view of what's going on and some of the shorter-term trends in the next few months to a year, looking at the trade as well, looking at some of the different things going on. We'll know more about the growing season by then with the summer crops and kind of where the wheat markets are by that point as well. And then Glenn Tonser over the lunch hour with the livestock markets. He does quite a bit of work also in looking at beef demand, and so he'll have some stuff on that as well.
Those are always highlights of the conference. And then interspersed in the program, these breakout sessions, 19 in all, you say. Share some examples of some of the more highlighted topics there.
We have one that's really interesting on the carbon credit markets, and that'll be happening once on Thursday and once on Friday. A lot of these, they'll do it twice, once on Thursday and once on Friday, and that's something that's becoming more of interest, and the rules are kind of being set up for that. We have more stuff on the grain markets as well, and livestock markets, just some of the things going on with beef processing, efficiency, and what's happened with COVID, and then efficiency of cow-calf operations, some insurance options for cow-calf producers on the livestock side, and then also some management things, employee management, some of the data management, income tax update. There's a number of things like that. So it's a varied offering, and folks can choose 7 out of those 19 to take part in.
And that is really one of the standout features of this program. They can customize their own agenda, if you will.
That's right. And with the online access the following week, those will be live presentations online. So if they have some that they didn't get when they were here in person, they could join those presentations online the following week and catch up on some of the others.
That's an added component and a sort of a benefit, if you will, from the COVID proceedings from last year.
Yeah.
That's how that came about, and that'll take place the week of the 23rd, the following week. Registration for either or both of those versions of the conference, how does one go about that, Rich?
It's on the agmanager.info website, or they can contact me. My email is rvl@ksu.edu. Be glad to be in touch with folks and answer any questions they'd have.
And there's a deadline typically for registering. What is that?
We'll have that on August 13th for the first deadline. They can go ahead and register after that, but it would be at an increased fee.
All of that information on the fees and so forth and the program itself, of course, at agmanager.info. But once more, the main event is in person, August the 19th and the 20th. And Rich, this really is a well-rounded program. Anybody involved in agriculture can gain something from this.
That's really true, and we do have a wide variation of people who attend it, from farm producers to ag lenders, the other agribusiness folks. So there's a lot of different folks coming. We do also have a small trade show with some of the corn and soybean commissions and a few others that will be joining us.
Well, it's an exceptional event every year, and again, it is set for the 2021 version in August at the Alumni Center here on the Kansas State University campus. The annual Risk and Profit Conference put on by K-State Agricultural Economics. All the best with it as you tie up the final details in preparation, Rich. Thank you for coming over.
Thanks much for having me.
Agricultural economist Rich Llewlyn of K-State. The Risk and Profit Conference, the 19th and the 20th of August, Alumni Center, Kansas State University. agmanager.info with all the particulars as well as the registration procedure. Check it out. Additionally, on the August calendar, the dates have been set now for the 2021 K-State Kansas Livestock Association Ranch Management Field Days. Scarlett Higgins offers this preview, this being the 25th consecutive year for these events. Scarlett?
The first 2021 Field Day will be held August 17th at the Deseret Ranch's Coon Ranch, located near Satana on the Haskell-Finney County line. The operation consists of a cow-calf herd and stocker business and borders the ranch's feed yard, Deseret Cattle Feeders. A featured topic at this location will be the use of irrigated grazing systems. The August 19th Field Day will be held on Roth Farm and Ranch near Sterling. Norman Roth, alongside his wife Cindy and their two children, Colton and Cammie, manage the farming and cow-calf operation. The Roths will specifically highlight their rotational grazing program and water management systems. Gun Barrel Ranch near Eskridge will be the site of the final field day in the 2021 series. It will be held August 24th. The cow-calf and stocker operation is owned and operated by the Hoagland family, which includes Joe and Norma Hoagland, their son Dirk, his wife Natalie, and their two children. The Hoaglands will focus on their use of late summer or early fall burning to effectively control Sericea lespedeza. The agenda for each field day also will include other topics pertinent to the region. Each event will begin at 3 p.m. and conclude with a complimentary beef dinner. Farm Credit Associations of Kansas is the sponsor of all three field days. For more information, click on Events and Meetings on KLA.org. I'm Scarlett Higgins.
Thanks, Scarlett. And your local extension office can also provide you further information on the 2021 K-State KLA Ranch Management Field Days ahead in the coming weeks. You're tuned to Agriculture Today, and when we return after the break, Shelby Varner and her guest will fill us in on a livestock event for youth, also on the slate in August. This is the K-State Radio Network.
Welcome back to Agriculture Today. I'm Shelby Varner. A key event for youth livestock participants that is getting closer is the Kansas 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes that K-State Research and Extension co-sponsors. To share more on this event is the Youth Livestock Coordinator, Lexie Hayes of K-State's Animal Science and Industry Department. Lexie, what is this event that these youth can participate in?
Well, good morning, Shelby. This is a great event that we're really excited to be hosting again this year that gives youth the opportunity to share their knowledge about the livestock industry in a variety of ways. It's actually the State 4-H Livestock Judging Contest, Meats Judging Contest, Skillathon, and Quiz Bowl, all in one fun, action-packed weekend before classes start on August 21st and 22nd.
So you shared a bunch of different judging. How do participants get into this contest?
A lot of them start at the local level, and so they find someone with an interest. A lot of the counties have coaches locally that are helping these students prepare. And then we also have resources, especially for the Skillathon and Quiz Bowl, that are on our website that can help them study. But a lot of them are 4-H resources, and a lot of it is application. A lot of these kids, whether they're showing in the show ring or they're in production ag, they're helping mom and dad on their cow-calf operation, they're going to know a lot of the questions we ask because they're out there doing it every day, being our leaders for tomorrow.
Talk about production Extension Ag, the livestock, what exactly are the different events that these youth can participate within the event?
Well, the livestock judging contest is where they're going to evaluate those animals. If they're market animals, they're evaluating them as market animals. If they're breeding animals, there are a few classes that they'll get EPDs. And so they have to make management decisions based on those EPDs and then a visual evaluation of the animals. Meat judging is similar in that they're evaluating meat and meat product. And that's a contest that's really grown in popularity since we've started including it in the sweepstakes. And it's a really unique opportunity because they get to come to K-State, go in the K-State Meat Lab cooler and look at that product. The skillathon is basically seeing what they know, and it's more application-based. We have several different ID stations they go through and ID equipment, breeds, feeds, things like that. And then there's always a quality assurance station where they make some decisions on quality assurance and making management decisions. And then the skillathon is similar to what you would think of as like high school quiz bowl, in that we ask questions that are related to the livestock industry, and we have a buzzer system, and they buzz in and answer those questions.
So what do you hope youth get from this event?
I think it's just a great opportunity for them to learn. All of them have been studying throughout the year. Most teams, this is a year-round activity for them. They're getting together with their coaches and preparing all year. So it's a great opportunity for them to learn through and develop those teamworking skills with their teammates that they're coming to campus with. And it's a chance for them to display what they know. We have a lot of really talented youth in the state of Kansas that are very knowledgeable. And so it's exciting to see what they know and give them the opportunity to display that knowledge and those talents that they have.
So you talk about a team. Is this an individual or a team event?
It can be both. All of the events, there is a team component. It's a team contest, so we'll be selecting team winners. But also, if you're just an individual, you can't find 3 other people from your county to participate, you can still go to your extension office, let them know you'd like to participate, and you can participate as an individual as well.
So if they are successful in this event as an individual or a team, is there a further step that they get to take?
Yes, absolutely. So for both our livestock, and this will be the inaugural year for our meat judging team, they will select the top 8 to 10 kids based on the contest, and they will do further workout and educational opportunities with them. And then 4 youth will be selected as an all-star team that will represent Kansas at the national contest. And then also those top winning teams, there are some other national contests, for example, at Denver, at Exarban, that those youth can go as a team, their county team, and participate in those events and represent Kansas. And then for the skillathon and quiz bowl, they are county level local teams that whoever wins is going to get to go to Louisville and represent us at the national contest. And our teams have been really successful in the past, which again just shows the talent and the efforts that our teams put into preparing for this event.
So how do we find out more information about this event?
Absolutely. The first step is to contact their local extension office because they have to enter through their extension office. They can't enter individually. The other place that they could go is our website. The Youth Livestock Program has a website, and it's actually easiest to find if you just Google KSU Youth Livestock, and then on the left there's a set of tabs, and all of the information is under the 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes tab.
Do you have to be a livestock participant in 4-H Youth to be a part of this event?
You do not. You do not have to be enrolled in a specific livestock project in order to participate, but you do have to be a fully enrolled Kansas 4-H member.
Time is getting close. It is an upcoming event. What are some deadlines for this event?
Yep, as I mentioned before, they have to go through their local extension office to enter. And so I would make sure that I would contact the extension office now. The entry deadline is August 1st. And so I would reach out to them now and let them know you're interested so they can let you know what you need to do to enter, because they'll have to get some information that has to be put into the entry system. And there are counties that have local level contests. A lot of them it's through their fair. They have local contests at their fair in which they select the kids that are going to represent them. So just make sure you talk to your local extension office that this is something that you're interested in.
So if you need information, your local extension office is a great resource.
Exactly.
Awesome. So as this deadline approaches, there are a variety of different events. Do you have to participate in all the events, or can you be selective in what you participate in?
Absolutely. It's totally up to the individual and what they would like to participate in. You can just come and participate in 1 or 2 of the contests, or you can do all of the contests. For example, if you're only interested in livestock judging, you can just do that. If you only want to come and do the skillathon, bring it on. We'd love to have you just do that. But also, if you would like to do everything and maybe broaden your horizons, that's how the for example, the meats contest has grown so much as it's part of sweepstakes. And so a lot of kids were like, well, we're here, we're going to try it. And they'll find out that they really have a talent for it and they enjoy it. And so it's really up to them. But if you want to participate in everything, which as an individual, that would be livestock judging, the senior meats judging contest, and skillathon, we actually have an all-around sweepstakes award for the individual that does the best in all of those contests. So it's basically a combined effort to show their talents in all of those different events. And the same for teams. The teams that participate in everything, so they have to have a team in the livestock judging, they have to have a team in meats judging, skillathon, and then also a quiz bowl. It's a team-only event. If they have a team in all four of those, they get included in the tabulation to pick our all-around Livestock Sweepstakes Award winner, which we have buckles for. So that's exciting. And two, you kind of get bragging rights that you're talented in the combined effort of all of these things. And so that's what a lot of the kids branch out a lot because they're interested in that sweepstakes award or just competing, knowing they're going to be here all weekend. And so they might as well try all the different contests while they're here. Never hurts to try.
If you are interested in the 4-H Youth Livestock Sweepstakes, go ahead and talk to your local extension agent. With us today was Youth Livestock Coordinator Lexie Hayes from K-State, sharing information about the 4-H Livestock Sweepstakes. We will be back with more on Agriculture Today.
Agriculture Today continues with this week's Youth Development segment. Along with Eric Atkinson, I'm Jeff Wickman. Well, as recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic continues, Kansas State University is again seeking to fill a variety of open positions. 4-H Youth Development Specialist for Community Vitality, Aliah Mestrovich Seay, discusses the national search to fill 3 strategic positions within 4-H with subject matter expertise as well as state and regional responsibilities. Aliah, you are the chair for a search committee that is actually looking for 3 positions to fill on the youth development side, and these are all very important positions that you're trying to fill.
Yes, this is something that we have been hoping to do for a while, but, we have had positions frozen because of just the budget crisis. So we're really excited to be able to offer a STEM youth development specialist position that will be housed out of the 4-H state office, along with a healthy living specialist position and agricultural sciences, which will be offered at the regional offices.
I guess one of the things we're running into is the fact that we have had some turnover within the staff, and these positions need to be filled for a variety of reasons.
Yes, well, we really wanted to make sure these positions were filled and that we were able to go through a really good, thorough onboarding before the end of the year. And so in order to do that, we do have to launch a fairly aggressive search with an aggressive timeline so that we can get qualified individuals in those positions as soon as possible so that we can continue to offer quality programming across the state for project-based learning. And these positions are aligned with the content areas that we have in Kansas 4-H.
And when we talk about these positions in particular, what kind of subject matter are we looking at in terms of STEM and then the healthy living and the agricultural sciences?
For STEM, this will be STEM and natural resources. It will also include advising for shooting sports education, college and career readiness for youth. And, STEM will involve agriculture education, architecture, engineering, arts and sciences. So there will be specific connections to the different units on campus at K-State as well. So we always seek to align 4-H with also what is going to be skills that are needed for youth to be able to go on and pursue these types of interests, not just K through 12, but also beyond that for their career. The other extension position for 4-H youth development in the western part of the state will be a healthy living position, statewide healthy living, food systems, rural community health and wellness youth programs. There will also be a college and career readiness component that will be tied to different colleges at K-State, like Ag, Education, Health and Human Sciences, and the Food Science Institute. So we are being very intentional about making sure that our content areas are aligning with the different colleges at K-State where we can offer additional resources. And then finally, in the eastern part of the state, we have the ag position right here in the Northeast. And we're really looking to expand on this content area to grow agricultural literacy along with college and career readiness. And so that person in that position will be connected to the colleges of agriculture, engineering, education, and arts and sciences. So we are really enthusiastic about launching this search. We're really very much grateful for all of the committee members that will contribute to this search and hiring quality candidates.
And really, as part of that, you have a diverse committee because there is so much interaction between 4-H and the college.
That's right. So we have search committee participants that are housed on campus that have different extension appointments. We also have specialists and agents coming from different units housed in the west and the east of the state. And so we really feel like we have a diverse committee with many different skill sets that will really be able to contribute to providing feedback to our administrators about quality candidates.
And Aliah, because these are new positions, how can they interact with your position as Community Vitality?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that because, as the Community Vitality Specialist for 4-H Youth Development, my goal is to help communities find resources to have healthy and thriving communities, particularly through how young people and community members exercise their leadership and their citizenship skills. So it's always a pleasure to interact with specialists with certain content level expertise because community vitality can be used to support STEM, healthy living, agricultural sciences, volunteer development in very similar ways, even though the content areas are different. So youth being able to exercise their citizenship, their leadership, and their communication skills, that is something that can be used to strengthen all of these different content areas that they might be engaging with the other specialists, whether it be STEM, healthy living, ag, and other content areas.
You mentioned that this is an aggressive timeline, so I'm assuming that time is of the essence.
It is. So we want to encourage folks that are interested in these positions or know of professionals that could potentially apply to do so as soon as possible. We're asking that potential candidates apply by July 28th, and we're going to keep those positions open until the position is filled. But for really the best consideration, we do ask that folks apply by July 28th.
And if people do want more information on this, how can they find all of the specifics for each position?
They can simply go to the Kansas State University website and look under jobs there. They're all listed there. They can also have access to this information through the tip sheet, the Tuesday letter, their local extension unit, and they can also contact me if they have additional questions at my email.
And again, as you said, all of the information available online, and the July 28th deadline, something that people need to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And for some reason, if we have candidates that apply after July 28th, they will still be considered until the position is closed. But for best consideration, we do ask that people go ahead and apply by July 28th.
That's Kansas 4-H Youth Development Specialist for Community Vitality, Aliah Mestrovich Seay. Again, more information can be found online by visiting the Kansas State University Human Capital Services webpage, k-state.edu/hcs/careers. To learn more about 4-H, visit kansas4h.org. And this reminder to listen to the podcast version of Agriculture Today, visit agtoday.net, or using an app on your mobile device, type these search keywords, Agriculture, Today, Kansas, and you'll find this program. By tapping the subscribe button, brand new episodes of Agriculture Today will automatically arrive on your device. That's agtoday.net. And that'll do it for this edition of Agriculture Today. For Eric Atkinson, I'm Jeff Wickman. This is the K-State Radio Network.